get ready. Bitcoin, you have to give it credit. Bitcoin green on the day, green yesterday when the stock market, again, S&P down 10% in 2 trading days. Now, listen, I still think it's going to go test these levels, but I love, as a long-term believer in Bitcoin, I love the way it's acting here. Let's see if it can continue to do that. Can it continue to ultimately hold up in spite of stock market selling? But ultimately, again, this is great news if you're a long-term believer in Bitcoin. We'll continue to monitor this.
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now, guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. Gareth Soloway sees Bitcoin possibly dropping to 71K. We'll break down his shocking price analysis, current market outlook, and future strategies. Let's watch him to learn more now.
NVIDIA today, big drop on NVIDIA, down 7.37%. And if we look at this, it's coming into its August low support. There's a lot of support here on NVIDIA, folks. Again, a lot of support. Just drag that trend line down. All this sideways chop, it dipped, it came up, it broke out, it retested in August, and now it's back to this level. This is an interesting level. If it breaks this level, you're likely going to $75 a share. Now, what's interesting about 75 is you also had a head and shoulders on NVIDIA. Let's do it in. Let's do a calculation here. Let me do up with the proper tool here. So let's draw it in and do our measurement. And I do this because I want you guys to learn how to calculate targets, right? So essentially you take the high of the head, and we have to bring up our drawing tool again, and you drop that plumb line straight down to the neckline. And we take that distance, and what we do is from the break point, that's your target. So notice just a little bit lower than this pivot, but there's actually a gap fill right here. So right in this zone here, between $75 and I would say about $68, that would be a huge opportunity where it would achieve its target, but then also come in to massive support. So essentially what I'm saying here, folks, is that there's opportunities here. Listen, not everything's going to be at a buyable level just yet, but get ready. Essentially have some dry powder on the sidelines, because the bounces off some of these levels could be like 10, 20% in a matter of a day or two. I mean, that's how powerful some of these bounces could be. One level I talked about, and we'll go back to the charts here. This is something I went over in the game plan this morning. This was United Airlines, and I had these lines on the chart. Look at this. It pierced, and look at where it closed today, right back above it. That is a technical bottoming tail. That is a buy signal on UAL for a short-term bounce. Now, it could be negated. There's always that chance, but at least as of now, at support, so 2 factors, bottoming tail and major support here, that tells me this is likely going to trade up in the coming days.
Bitcoin is in a real make or break moment as BlackRock keeps buying the dip. Even with markets under pressure, BlackRock's spot ETF, IDIT, just added another $25 million in Bitcoin, showing they're all in on crypto. Bitcoin is trading around $83,300, up slightly, while the Nasdaq 100 continues to fall sharply after new trade tariffs rocked investors. So far this year, Bitcoin has dipped about 12%, but it's still doing better than the tech-heavy Nasdaq, which is down over 16%. BlackRock's commitment highlights growing faith in Bitcoin's long-term future, something CEO Larry Fink hinted at when he warned that rising U.S. debt and global tensions could make Bitcoin a stronger store of value than the dollar. Still, some experts remind us Bitcoin isn't a traditional safe haven. Bloomberg's Eric Balchunas called it 100% hot sauce, exciting, risky, and not exactly for the faint-hearted. Even so, Bitcoin's role in global finance is clearly evolving fast.
Oil, I actually got out of my short yesterday, which I did miss out on some gains today, but that's the nature of the beast. But if we zoom out on this, and let's go to the big board to dissect this here, guys. So if we look at this chart on oil, we know that there's a long-term trend line going all the way back to 2018 through this high in 2019, 2020, just before the COVID collapse right here. And then we broke out above it. And look, every time we came back into this level, it hits it, hits it, hits it, and hits it right through here. And even recently. Well, today, okay, so today what we saw was it break below this level, but it has not confirmed yet. So remember, it can break below. It's not a confirmed breakdown until it confirms. But I do think while we could be due for a bounce, I've said this for the longest time. I said, listen, eventually oil's going down to two major trend lines down here. This is it right here. This is what I'm looking for. And again, listen, that's a 12-month price target, so into next year, but $35 a barrel. And what I've said to you guys as well is that if oil hits $35 a barrel, where's the economy at that point? It's not because we're producing so much. Trust me. Oil's not going there unless we're in a major recession. And again, that tells me again, likely by year end, we are in a recession. All right. Let's go back and focus on a couple of these other charts here. We'll take a look at gold today. If we take a look at gold, gold did have a pretty big down day. Now, this is another good point, guys. In fact, if we looked at this, remember how I said to you guys, probability was a pullback at the parallel. Okay, we got a small pullback here, and then it broke above. And what I said to you guys is, listen, in general, if you look at all the times that upsloping parallels have been had price go above them, it's usually a fake out to try to get the bulls, the last few bulls on board before it flushes them out. Well, that's exactly what happened. We're back within that parallel right here. And listen, I still think gold goes higher mid to longer term, but it's just overbought. It just is what it is. And so again, what I'm looking for is pullbacks into, let's say, 29.50, maybe even as low as 28.50, and then start to accumulate again once we get a pullback there. Now, silver, I did pick up a small position in silver today. I couldn't resist. All right, such a massive drop in 2 days. We were getting close to this support. We have another semi-support right here. So again, we're into this general vicinity. I look for a bounce next week. I did a small enough position that if it were to go down here on a straight line, let's say to 27, I load up even more, all right? So again, slowly dollar cost averaging into positions here on silver and some of these other metals that have fallen apart this week.
Bitcoin and altcoins are facing new pressure after a surprise warning from the Federal Reserve shook markets. Following Donald Trump's Liberation Day tariffs, Bitcoin managed to stay strong between $80,000 and $90,000, and Ethereum hovered just below $2,000. Crypto held up better than stocks, which had their worst week since 2020, with the Nasdaq 100, S&P 500, and Dow Jones all sliding into correction territory. The real concern now comes from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. On Friday, Powell warned that Trump's new tariffs could push inflation higher while slowing economic growth, a dangerous mix known as stagflation. Powell made it clear the Fed's priority is keeping inflation expectations in check and hinted he's not rushing to cut interest rates anytime soon. This stance, echoed by other Fed officials, could spell trouble for Bitcoin and altcoins, which usually perform better when rates are falling. Trump disagrees sharply, calling for immediate rate cuts and accusing Powell of playing politics. However, the Fed remains independent, and a more hawkish position during a potential recession would likely weigh heavily on risk assets like crypto and stocks. Still, there's a glimmer of hope. Crude oil and copper prices have crashed, and bond yields are plunging, both signs that a recession might be looming. If that happens, history suggests the Fed could pivot and start cutting rates. Goldman Sachs has even raised the chances of a U.S. recession and expects at least 3 rate cuts this year. If rate cuts come, Bitcoin and altcoins could rally once again, just as they did during the pandemic and the global financial crisis. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.